Stop. Whatever you're doing right now, stop. Because what I'm about to show you in the next few minutes could literally change the way you look at your loose change forever. I'm not talking about pennies. I'm not talking about quarters. I'm talking about presidential dollar coins. Coins that most Americans are throwing in a jar, tossing in a drawer, or worse, spending at a vending machine, that are secretly worth thousands and thousands of dollars. We're talking 5 specific presidential dollar coins that coin collectors are going absolutely crazy over right now. And the wildest part? You might already have one sitting somewhere in your house. Stay with me, this is going to blow your mind. First up, coin number 5. The first President George Washington Presidential Dollar, 1789-1797. All right, we are kicking off this list with the absolute legend himself, the man, the myth, the face on the quarter, George Washington. And yes, he got his own presidential dollar coin too, and let me tell you, certain versions of this coin are worth far more than $1. In fact, depending on what you've got in your hand right now, we could be talking anywhere from $1,500 all the way up to $10,000 or more. So do not put this coin down. Now here's the thing about the George Washington Presidential Dollar. This coin was released in 2007 as part of the United States Mint's Presidential Dollar Coin Program, a series that was designed to honor all of America's presidents in order. Washington, being the very first president, was the very first coin in the series. That means collectors went absolutely insane for this coin from day one. It was the launch coin, the one that started it all. And in the numismatic world, first-in-series coins almost always carry a massive premium over their face value. But here's where things get really interesting and really valuable. There are specific error varieties on the George Washington Presidential Dollar that have sent auction prices through the absolute roof. The most famous error? The missing edge lettering error. See, the presidential dollar coins were designed with lettering on the edge of the coin, the rim, instead of on the face of the coin. The edge reads, "In God We Trust," the year, the mint mark, and E pluribus unum. But during production in 2007, some coins went through the minting process and completely skipped the edge lettering step. They came out of the mint with a perfectly smooth blank edge, no lettering at all. Zero. Nothing. And when the public found out, complete pandemonium. Coin collectors, treasure hunters, people who had never even looked at a coin twice in their life, everyone was frantically checking their Washington dollars. These godless dollarses, that's the nickname they earned, because "In God We Trust" was missing, started showing up on eBay within days, and the prices were jaw-dropping. We're talking coins that were spending money just 48 hours earlier, suddenly selling for $500, $800, $1,200. And in high-grade mint state condition? A perfectly preserved MS-65 or MS-66 Washington missing edge lettering dollar has sold at major auctions for well over $8,000. Some examples have cracked $10,000 depending on the population report and the grade. But that's not the only error variety to look for. There's also the double-edge lettering error, where the coin was accidentally run through the edge lettering machine twice, creating overlapping doubled text on the rim. These are incredibly rare, stunning to look at, and extremely desirable to collectors. A double-edged lettered Washington dollar in high-grade condition can fetch anywhere from $2,000 to $6,000 depending on the specific characteristics and the auction house. And then there's the matter of grade. Even a regular non-error Washington presidential dollar in a perfect untouched mint state 67 or 68 grade, coins that show absolutely zero wear, perfect luster, perfect strike, zero contact marks under magnification, can be worth $1,500 to $4,000 because coins at that grade level are incredibly scarce. The U.S. Mint made millions of these coins, but the vast majority went into circulation and got banged up. Finding a pristine, high-grade example is harder than you'd think. The face value? $1. The potential real-world value in your hand right now? Potentially thousands. If you've got a Washington presidential dollar, flip it over, check the edge, and if that edge is smooth and blank, you need to get that coin to a professional grader immediately. Next up, coin number 4, 8th President Martin Van Buren Presidential Dollar 1837-1841. Coming in at number 4 on today's list is a coin that most people completely overlook, and honestly, that's exactly why it's so valuable for the people who do know what they're looking at. We are talking about the Martin Van Buren Presidential Dollar, honoring America's 8th president, and certain versions of this coin have traded hands for prices that would make your jaw hit the floor. Now, Martin Van Buren is not exactly the most famous president in American history. He served from 1837 to 1841. He was the first president born as a United States citizen rather than as a British subject. And he inherited a financial crisis that absolutely wrecked his presidency. But none of that matters right now. What matters is that his presidential dollar coin, released in 2008, carries some of the most sought-after error varieties in the entire presidential dollar series. And collectors are paying serious money for them. Let's talk about what makes the Van Buren dollar special. First, you need to understand the production context. By 2008, the U.S. Mint had already released the Washington, Adams, and Jefferson dollars, and public enthusiasm for the series was still running extremely high. Collectors were watching every new release like hawks. But despite all that scrutiny, errors still made it out into circulation. Because the Mint was producing these coins at an absolutely massive scale, and quality control, no matter how good, isn't perfect at that volume. The missing edge lettering error on the Van Buren dollar is one of the most prized finds in the series. Same concept as the Washington coin, the edge lettering was supposed to include "In God We Trust," "E Pluribus Unum," the date, and the mint mark, all applied in a separate step after the coin is struck. But some Van Buren dollars slip through without any edge lettering whatsoever. Clean, smooth, blank rim. And in the coin collecting world, that blank rim is pure gold. Literally. A Van Buren missing edge lettering dollar in certified mint state 65 condition has sold for over $5,000 at major auction houses. In MS66 or MS67 condition, you're looking at $6,000, $7,000, potentially even higher depending on the population and the bidders in the room. But here's a variety that specifically haunts the Van Buren dollar and drives collectors absolutely wild. The Position A versus Position B edge lettering orientation. The lettering on the edge of presidential dollars can be oriented in one of two ways relative to the obverse of the coin. On Position A coins, if you flip the coin from the front to the back left to right, the edge lettering reads normally. On Position B, it's rotated the other way. Both positions exist for most presidential dollars, but on certain dates and mint marks, one position is dramatically scarcer than the other, and scarcer always means more valuable in numismatics. The proof versions of the Van Buren dollar are another incredible avenue for value. The San Francisco Mint produced proof presidential dollars with mirror-like fields and frosted devices that are absolutely stunning in hand. A perfect proof 70 deep cameo Van Buren dollar, the highest possible grade for a proof coin with zero imperfections, is an extraordinarily difficult coin to find and has commanded prices in the $3,000 to $7,000 range, depending on the population at major grading services like PCGS and NGC. And then there's the matter of what we call first strike or early release designations. Coins submitted to grading services within a certain window of the coin's initial release carry special labels that collectors pay substantial premiums for. A first strike MS67 Van Buren dollar can carry a value 2 to 3 times higher than an identically graded coin without that designation. Face value, $1. Collector value for the right example, $5,000, $6,000, $7,000 or more. Don't you dare spend this coin. Next up, coin number 3. Ninth President William Henry Harrison Presidential Dollar, 1841, number 3. And this one is where things get genuinely, historically fascinating. Because William Henry Harrison is already one of the most famous presidents in American history, for a very specific reason, he served the shortest presidency in United States history. 31 days. He gave the longest inaugural address in presidential history, caught pneumonia in the cold and rain, and died on April 4, 1841, exactly 1 month after taking office. 31 days. That's it. And that historical tragedy? It makes his presidential dollar coin one of the most emotionally and collectively significant coins in the entire series. Collectors don't just want this coin because of errors or varieties, though those exist and they're incredibly valuable. They want it because it honors the man who had the shortest presidency in American history. It's a piece of history. And history, in coin collecting, always commands a premium. The William Henry Harrison Presidential Dollar was released in 2009, and from the moment it dropped, collectors were lining up. The Harrison dollar carries a fascinating narrative weight that the other coins in this series simply don't have. When you hold this coin, you're holding a tribute to a presidency that lasted barely a month. That kind of story resonates, and it drives demand in ways that pure economics can't always explain. Now let's get into the specific values that are making collectors crazy. The missing edge lettering error on the Harrison dollar is among the most valuable in the series. These coins are relatively scarcer in the error category compared to some of the earlier releases in the program, meaning the population of confirmed missing edge lettering Harrison dollars that have been certified is lower. And lower population in numismatics means higher value. A certified MS-65 Harrison missing edge lettering dollar? You're looking at a floor of around $4,000. Push that grade up to MS-66, and you could be staring at $6,000 to $8,000. At MS-67, which is an almost impossibly pristine coin, auction records show examples pushing past $10,000. But there's another variety on the Harrison dollar that sophisticated collectors chase relentlessly: the satin finish specimens that were included in annual mint sets. The U.S. Mint produced special satin finish versions of many presidential dollars exclusively for inclusion in mint sets. And these coins have a completely different surface texture than the standard business strikes. They're not as mirror-like as proofs, but they have this beautiful, soft, satiny look that is absolutely gorgeous in hand. These satin finish Harrison dollars in MS-68 condition, the highest grade ever recorded for satin finish presidential dollars, have sold for figures north of $3,000. And the populations at that grade are in the single digits. The Proof 70 Deep Cameo Harrison dollar from the San Francisco Mint is another trophy coin. Perfect cameo contrast, the frosted devices against the mirror like fields, in an absolutely flawless, untouched state. These coins are submitted by thousands of collectors who hope their coin grades a 70, and the vast majority come back at 69 or lower. The ones that grade 70? They sell for $4,000 to $8,000 depending on when and where the auction takes place. And for regular collectors just getting started, even a non-error standard Harrison presidential dollar in MS-67 condition can bring $1,200 to $2,000 because coins at that grade level across all presidential dollars are simply hard to find in certified form. The population isn't large, the demand is consistent, and the values reflect that reality. $1 face value. Potentially $10,000 or more in collector value. William Henry Harrison only got 31 days in the White House, but his coin is going to live on in collections for centuries. Next up, coin number 2. 14th President Franklin Pierce Presidential Dollar, 1853-1857. We are at number 2 right now, and I need you to pay very close attention, because this coin right here, the Franklin Pierce Presidential Dollar, is one that the average person has zero idea about. And that ignorance is costing people real money every single day. Franklin Pierce served as the 14th President of the United States from 1853 to 1857, and while historians debate his legacy pretty intensely, coin collectors have absolutely no debate whatsoever about the value of certain examples of his presidential dollar. The numbers are staggering. Franklin Pierce's presidential dollar was released in 2010 as part of the ongoing presidential dollar series, and by this point in the program, the collector base had grown substantially. More sophisticated collectors were actively hunting for varieties, errors, and high-grade examples with a level of intensity that the early releases didn't see. That attention to detail in the collector community means that when errors are found on coins from this era of the series, they get documented quickly, certified immediately, and the values get established fast. The big story with the Pierce dollar, beyond the standard missing edge lettering errors that plague all presidential dollars, is the variety of die characteristics that numismatists have identified on this specific coin. There are documented double die varieties on the Franklin Pierce presidential dollar, both on the obverse and the edge, where the die used to strike the coin shows evidence of doubling in the design elements. These double die varieties, when found in high-grade, uncirculated condition, carry premiums that are absolutely extraordinary. A strong, well-attributed double die Pierce dollar in MS-65 can bring anywhere from $3,000 to $6,000 at auction, depending on the strength of the doubling and the overall quality of the coin. And here's something that I think is genuinely wild that most people don't know about presidential dollars in general. And the Pierce dollar specifically, the Philadelphia Mint presidential dollars from the later years of the series, including the Pierce dollar, were not released into general circulation. The U.S. Mint decided partway through the presidential dollar program that public demand just wasn't there for circulation-quality dollar coins, and they shifted production at the Philadelphia Mint to collector-only distribution. This means that if you somehow find a Philadelphia Mint Pierce dollar that appears to have come from circulation with actual wear and handling, it's an anomaly, a coin that escaped in unusual circumstances, and that story adds value rather than subtracting it. But the real money, the serious collector money, is in the San Francisco Proof Pierce dollars at perfect grades. We're talking about coins with a face value of $1 that have been struck multiple times by specially polished dies on specially prepared planches, producing coins with a level of detail and beauty that standard coins simply cannot match. When those proof coins grade Proof 70 Deep Cameo, and remember, most proof coins submitted don't make it to 70, the auction results are jaw-dropping. Proof 70 Deep Cameo Franklin Pierce presidential dollars have sold for $5,000, $7,000, even approaching $10,000 depending on the label, the holder, and the heat of the bidding. The satin finish mint set examples of the Pierce dollar in top population grades are similarly compelling. Coins grading MS-68 in satin finish at PCGS or NGC have populations in the single digits for many presidential dollar dates, including Pierce. And single-digit populations at top grade produce 4-figure and 5-figure auction results when the right collectors are in the room. If you have a Franklin Pierce presidential dollar coin, especially one that came from a mint set, or one that you found in unusual circumstances, or one where the edge looks strange or blank, get it looked at. The difference between spending this coin and getting it certified could be the difference between $1 and $8,000. That is not an exaggeration. Next up, most valuable coin number 1, the 15th President James Buchanan presidential dollar, 1857-1861. And here we are. Number 1, the most valuable, the most talked about, the most hunted presidential dollar coin that we are covering today, and I saved the best for last, because this coin's story is genuinely one of the most incredible stories in modern American coin collecting. Ladies and gentlemen, the James Buchanan Presidential Dollar. James Buchanan was the 15th President of the United States, serving from 1857 to 1861, and he holds the distinction of being the only president in American history who never married. Historians often rank him among the least effective presidents due to his handling, or mishandling, of the tensions leading up to the Civil War. He's a controversial figure in history. But in the world of coin collecting, James Buchanan's presidential dollar is an absolute superstar, and the prices on certain examples of this coin are, in a word, outrageous. The Buchanan presidential dollar was released in 2010, the same year as the Pierce dollar, and because of how late in the program it came, certain mint configurations and error opportunities resulted in some extremely valuable coins making it out of the mint and into collector hands. Let me walk you through exactly what to look for, and exactly why these coins are worth what they're worth. First, the missing edge lettering error on the James Buchanan presidential dollar. By 2010, you would have thought the mint had completely solved the edge lettering quality control issues that plagued earlier releases. But numismatics is humbling, and errors happen, and Buchanan missing edge lettering dollars exist in the wild right now. The certified population of these error coins is relatively low, meaning that the law of supply and demand works heavily in the favor of anyone who owns one. A certified Buchanan missing edge lettering dollar at MS65 starts at around $4,000 at major auction venues. At MS66, $6,000 to $8,000 is a realistic expectation. And the few examples that have graded MS67, we're talking about coins that look like they just came out of the mint 5 minutes ago. No marks, perfect surfaces, blazing luster, those coins have fetched north of $12,000. $12,000 for a $1 coin. But the absolute crown jewel variety associated with the Buchanan dollar, and the reason it sits at number 1 on today's list, is the combination of errors that some specimens carry. When a coin has both the missing edge lettering error and a double die characteristic on the obverse, you are looking at what numismatists call a major error combination. And major error combinations on presidential dollars are extraordinarily rare. These coins, when submitted and certified, carry values that are essentially negotiated between the buyer and seller because comparable sales are so few that the standard price guides can barely keep up. We're talking about coins where the starting conversation at auction begins at $10,000 and goes from there. The proof versions of the Buchanan dollar from the San Francisco Mint deserve their own spotlight. The 2010 S. Franklin Pierce proof dollar, and I want to be very clear here, when you get a perfect proof 70 deep cameo example, you have a coin that represents the absolute pinnacle of the U.S. Mint's production capability. The cameo contrast on these coins is breathtaking. The devices, Buchanan's portrait, the lettering, the design elements, are frosted and three-dimensional against a background that looks like a perfect black mirror. Proof 70 deep cameo Buchanan dollars with first strike or early release designations have commanded prices of $50,000 to $60,000 at certified coin auctions. And with major auction houses like Heritage Auctions and Stack's Bowers handling presidential dollar lots regularly, the competitive bidding environment continues to push prices higher. There's also something worth discussing about the overall rarity of high-grade late-series presidential dollars compared to early Series 1s. The Washington, Adams, and Jefferson dollars had massive mintages and huge public awareness. People were specifically saving them in pristine condition from the very beginning. By the time you get to Buchanan, collector fatigue had set in for the average person, but sophisticated collectors were still watching. That paradox, lower civilian saving rates but high collector demand, means that the certified populations of late-series presidential dollars in genuinely high grades are smaller than you'd expect, and smaller populations drive higher values. If there is one takeaway from today's video, it's this. If you have a James Buchanan presidential dollar, from a mint set, from change, from your grandfather's coin jar, from anywhere, examine that edge immediately. If it's blank, if the lettering is doubled, if anything looks unusual, do not spend it. Do not clean it. Do not handle it more than you have to. Put it in a soft flip, take it to a professional numismatist, or submit it directly to PCGS or NGC for grading. Because that $1 coin in your hand could be worth more money than you ever imagined possible. Final thoughts. So there you have it. 5 presidential dollar coins that are worth anywhere from $1,000 to well over $10,000 depending on grade, variety, and error type. George Washington's Godless dollar. Martin Van Buren's Missing Edge mystery. William Henry Harrison's 31-day presidency immortalized in gold. Franklin Pierce's double die drama. And James Buchanan sitting at number 1 with some of the most jaw-dropping auction prices in the entire presidential dollar series. The United States Mint has produced billions of coins. Most of them are worth exactly what they say they're worth, $1. But hidden inside that enormous sea of ordinary coins are extraordinary rarities, mistakes, varieties, and treasures that have been waiting for someone like you to find them. And now you know what to look for. Before you go, and I mean this, go check your coin jars. Check your drawers. Check your old mint sets if you have any. The next $10,000 coin might already be in your house right now. If this video opened your eyes to the world of coin collecting, do me one favor, hit that subscribe button right now. I release new videos every single week, covering rare coins, error varieties, auction results, and hidden treasures that most people don't even know exist. This community is growing fast, and I don't want you to miss a single video. Tap subscribe, hit the notification bell, and I will see you in the next one. Let's find some treasure.